Hey everyone, welcome to a new video. Today we are looking at 9.14 and the best champions you can play for solo queue. As always, there will be timestamps to the roles down below, and there'll also be a list of the champions in the description, and someone always copy paste them for a few likes in the comments as well. If you want to skip to a role, just go down there. I know not everybody plays every single role, but I just want to mention very quickly as well, I am going to start working with Club again. It's been a little while, but they've revamped the store now as well, so you basically just buy RP with the coins. If you don't know how it works, basically you download the app through Overwolf, you have it running in the background while you play League, you earn these coins through challenges completely free, and then you use these coins to buy your RP. Basically, you do nothing differently, but you earn these coins in the background, and then you get RP out of it. And to celebrate this week, they're going to be giving away over 200,000 of those coins. You need to play 20 challenges over the week to enter, and there's going to be a lot of different winners, so I'll leave the link to that down below, and yeah, go and sign up. As always, we're going to start with AD carry, and the first champion we have technically doesn't lose any bot lane matchup on average, which I don't think I've ever seen before. Jinx is just so strong at the moment. She spikes at one item, just Infinity Edge actually. It makes her so strong because of the rocket crits, but also because your zap really sting. Once you have that, like, your wave clear is better, your fighting is going to be so much better, and you're going to get so many tower plates, way more than any other AD carry, especially if somebody takes a bad base and leaves you alone with it. I personally feel like she is probably one of the easier ones to play as well. Like, the basic rule is stay in rocket form unless you know it's very safe, and then swap to your minigun. But with your resets as well, you're going to zoom around the fight and you mop up way more kills. There are going to be a few that are chilling like just under Jinx, but I think Jhin is actually now one of the better ones. He was buffed in this patch, and they lowered his W cooldown by 2 seconds and also increased the root duration. So now you can kind of look to set up plays a little bit more often, and it's more likely to actually work as well when you do hit it. Like, you max it second, right? So it can actually root for 2 seconds mid game. Now you're kind of building essence for even more, like second or third item. He seems to jump up in power a lot more, and you crit so much harder, especially your fourth shot. It does make sense. You get more AD, more cooldown reduction, and then you can whack it up to 100 crit later if you want to as well. For our third spot, we're going to look at Kai'Sa. I think she is still the most versatile AD carry, right? Like, good in most situations, and you can look after yourself. You can go AD if you want to. You can go AP. I still think going Mana Immune first is probably the better build at the moment because of your really early Q upgrade. Your damage is going to be mixed, so it's going to be a mix of AD and AP, but also from your auto attacks and ability damage. So later, that is going to mean you burst people down. Last up for AD carries, and our honorable mention, we're going to look at Vayne. Seems to slowly be climbing back up again and actually becoming really good, especially if she's not being bullied as much. Like, when she gets to 3 items, she is so insane. She is still one of the best later into the game. She just kind of sucks something else early, and she doesn't normally win more than she loses until about 25 minutes into the game. This is partly why we now take biscuits and boots in lane normally. It can help you survive, take bad trades or poke and still get farm and get out of that lane phase without losing too much. So for our mid lane, it's still dominated by Zed and Ahri for solo queue, but we're going to go into something else today to spice things up a little bit. So apart from those two, our number one would be Katarina, and she is doing so much better now after they gave her ult more healing reduction. They've increased that to 60% now, which is actually even better than you can buy from items, but she is still a monster early to mid game at least, and she can kind of spiral out of control. I actually think it's a bit easier now as well if you're going after the enemy AD carry and you're cutting the heal for even more. And NA and EU actually prefer the usual Gunblade build and Morello and Zhonya's and stuff like that. I think the Morello, like fully upgraded, is a bit of a waste because you have your ult healing cut anyway, but Koreans right now play a lot of Death's Dance second and Conqueror because of that. You can definitely seem to pull damage out of your ass sometimes, which takes people by surprise, so you get a few kills early, but you're not going to be scaling as well as others. And next one definitely does a lot better as you go into the game, but Fizz can also just farm mid laners anyway if they can't dodge his ultimate. His passive was changed to block all sources of damage now instead of just auto attacks, which should help your lane phase and just like absorb a bit more damage. He's actually also really good against other assassins since he uses E to dodge some of the really important damage, and you'll notice from this video there are a lot of good assassins. Also, his electrocute bug was fixed apparently, where he could proc it with one auto attack, but his win rate hasn't really dropped that much yet at all, so either they didn't fix it or he's actually pretty good. Our third spot is going to go to Talon today. I said there are a lot of assassins in this meta right now, and North America and Korea especially have a real hard on for Talon right now because you can play with the dumbest teammates and still win the game. You're going to perma roam after your teamer, and if they can't lane, like, who really cares, right? Anybody can lane when you've killed their lane opponent. You make it so easy. He definitely has some harder matchups than like other assassins, but at least he can get out of those anyway, and he can get a lot of kills early with the guaranteed crit to kind of like bypass that. Last up, I kind of want to touch on Qiyana as well. She is another assassin, but her early game is really, really good. Honestly, if she gets rolling, her damage is absolutely disgusting. If she finds you near a wall, it's basically good night straight away. You stand like zero chance to react before you're taken out just because of the damage. She does definitely seem to be making a home in the mid lane for now. She isn't crazy strong, but once people learn to use her elements a little bit more, I think we'll be seeing more of her anyway. Like, her damage isn't really the problem. It's just a utility side of things. So the jungle this time was the most untouched role in this patch. So nothing crazy has happened. Like, Jarvan and Elise are still really good early pressure and like really good gankers and stuff. But Hecarim is going to be our number one for now. He's also really good early, but he can carry a bit harder into the game, getting pretty beefy with a really good amount of damage. Honestly, these three are very close together anyway, but one of the most surprising parts about Hecarim is that he's top 5 for damage taken as a jungler. He builds a lot of damage, like Sterix and Trinity Force and stuff, but because he's healing so much and because he has so much health as well, like, he can actually absorb a ton when he dives in. Our second spot is going to be Kayn still. He's still really good, but more of a selfish jungler. Like, he doesn't really tend to do as much early, but he kind of makes up for it later. It means you might have a rough time against stuff like Hecarim or Elise, but he can be really good against stuff like Silas or Zac, who are a little bit more like chill. You can play red or blue right now. Both seem to have really good win rates once you get past 2 items. So once you have like part of your build, he becomes really strong. There is actually one part to red that is insane. So if you grab your Visage and then you have your Death Stance on top of that afterwards, like, especially when you've got your Conqueror, that is really nuts. But that is also like 4 items. There are a lot of junglers past like those ones we mentioned, but we're going to talk about Evelynn right now. She's actually really good. She's a lot like Kayn, not very good early, but really good later. And you can one-shot basically anybody at that stage of the game when you have like 2 to 3 items. A lot of Smurfs actually use Evelynn right now to climb quite quickly because she just can like hard carry games even by herself. Like, you're able to start to kill people in one combo at maybe like 1.5 items. Most people don't realize that, but when you played a few games with her, you actually start to realize she has a lot of damage, and then you just roam around and you constantly find people alone. Now, as weird as it sounds, I actually want to talk a little bit about Volibear for our honorable mention. He's got a really good win rate, and he follows a pretty similar graph to Hecarim, basically. Like, decent early, can run into lane, flip, ganks well, but he's just mega tanky. With his passive healing as well, you basically cannot win 2v2s at all. Like, if the enemy jungler tries to counter gank, it just doesn't work. He actually has a fair amount of damage himself, and he can definitely be pretty decent, especially if you throw in something like a Sterix or a Trinity Force if you really want to carry. Moving up to our top lane, it changed a bunch in this patch, but Darius still has his lane kingdom, and he just smashes everybody so hard in solo queue. He's actually one of the few champions I think that can get counterpicked in the game at the moment. Like, he has some really rough matchups like Kled or Temu or even Yorick. The thing is, on average, you're going to find more good ones than bad, and hit them so hard in lane, you'll get out of control. The idea is that you bend them over so far, you take their plates, you get so much gold, you dive them and give them a 0 chance to recover. Even with their jungler, it's not going to make a difference. Renekton is pretty much the same idea as well. He was already pretty strong before this patch, but now he has the shield cut mechanic added onto his W on top of that as well. You know a champion is strong and like really annoying to play against when people start to ban him a lot more. That's a pretty good indicator, and he was like 10% ban rate, I think 9.13, and now it's almost up to 30%. He still has that same strength where he can like bully the lane phase and run away with his lead, and that's really why you'd pick Renekton in the first place. We actually have a new entry for our third spot. So Kled, after this patch, they added the healing reduction to his Q, which means whenever he fights somebody, pretty much as long as you hit it, they heal for 60% less. Funnily enough, champions like Swain or Renekton or Darius do not enjoy having their made trade mechanic taken away from them, and it's made some matchups swing massively for Kled now. So he's actually pretty similar to the others that I've talked about already in this video. Like, he's really good in the lane phase. He's got good damage. He can chase people down and actually like make them fight him, but he can also really take a beating with Skull. A big difference is that he also moves his lead like better outside the lane phase with his ultimate, but the healing cut has just made it even harder to fight him now, especially early. I feel like we kind of have to mention Riven as well because she is still really good, so she's going to round up the top lane for us, but it can be a little bit harder with how many lane bullies are around now. Riven scales so much better with items than these others, and that is a massive difference that separates them really. So if you do get out of lane phase or you get a few ganks and you rack up some early kills, then you'll be able to have a huge impact. A good Riven is so scary in fights. A lot of her damage at AoE, it turns into bursts like more often than not later into the game, and she has the healing on top of it. So last up, we're going to check in with our supports, and it had quite a few changes this patch, but the biggest were the nerfs to Lux that definitely shook up everything. Thresh is now the most popular again after that and has taken a spot as well as pretty much the best, like being able to pressure lane easier and pick up a lot more kills. He's probably always going to be meta just because his kit is so juiced up. Like, he has so much packed in there, it can't exactly ever be bad, so how good he is kind of depends on everybody else. So the thing is, Lux dropped from one of the best to below a 50% win rate this patch, and Thresh is definitely one of those, dishing out a pounding now. Her shield isn't as good. So Pyke has also shot up, and he's one of the biggest changes of the patch for sure. It's probably partly to do with buffs to him, but also a lot of it is one of his best matchups is Lux now. Out of all the changes that Pyke had, the biggest thing is basically he gets double the gold generated from his ultimate when used as an execute. If you have more gold, that means you're gonna have more items, and Pyke's actually pretty good with items. It makes him way more deadly. So if he can get ahead in the lane phase, he has a much bigger chance to be able to win from that lead. His win rate before 25 minutes is actually pretty disgusting right now, and that's definitely gonna be the extra gold. Plus how many kills he can get after and how much damage he can do when he roams to other lanes. So with Lux getting nerfed, Nami is really 9.14's version of Lux, a mage that can defend her teammates, set up some plays, and also do a bit of damage. Less on the damage part, I guess, but the heals can kind of make up for that anyway. And honestly, Nami can do a lot in teamfights, especially after grabbing a few items. She can get punished in the lane phase, like if she's engaged on, she is still just a mage, but if it's more passive, it lets her bully a bit more. And then she has a speed up, a slow as well, 2 AoE knockups, and that is a lot to help her team. For our last honorable mention, like we sort of expected this as well, but Blitz is better now after they added the shield cut on his ultimate. Some matchups like Lulu and Karma, he's really good in now. You definitely never want to pick that into Blitzcrank, but weirdly as well, stuff like Janna, he doesn't really do that well into. Janna is a bit different, probably because she can disengage really well, and Karma and Lulu can't really, but just in general, if you play mages bot lane, then you're probably going to get hooked and die in one combo. That's going to wrap up my picks for 9.14. Let me know what you think of these, and if you disagree with any of them, or if you think I should have included something else that you're doing really well with now. Thank you for watching until the very end of the video, and for now, I will leave you with the red box.